Welcome to Women's Sports Weekly, where women's sports happens every day, but we talk about it once a week. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Carolyn. Women's Sports Weekly is a podcast where we discuss the latest news, explore interesting stories, and share our love for women's sports. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Women's Sports Weekly Pod. Follow us and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We had a really busy weekend and we have so much to talk about today.
I'm tired.
That's going to be the theme of our podcast. Every time we get on, we're like, we're tired.
I had started Friday morning off with a long run, and then we celebrated a friend's birthday Friday night.
How much is a long run?
Depends, but this weekend I did 17 miles.
Cash.
Marathon training season, you know?
Yep.
So this past Friday, we got drinks at one of my old-time favorite bars in Denver, Stoney's, and it's a sports bar. We were able to get it on the TV, got drinks, and watched the Indiana Fever game versus Aces. Megan from my flag football team is a huge Indiana Fever fan, so she was going hard on the Fever. I always say I don't necessarily have a favorite team in the W, but I love so many of the Aces players. But I honestly was going for both teams, which is really bad to say. I really need to find a team that I actually like.
Yeah, I was rooting for the Aces, but they're also not my team. I feel the same way, and I think we do need to find a team. Last weekend, we went to a watch party with the WNBA club and got to meet so many cool people. We were talking to some people that we had met, and they were like, who's your WNBA team? When we both looked at each other, and they were like, that's great for you that you have a podcast and you're so unbiased that you don't have a team. And I'm like, no, I'm really not unbiased. Like, if you ask me about the Gamecocks, I'm going to go hard for them. But it is really difficult not having a team in Denver. It's hard because I'm holding out so much hope that I can't put all my eggs in the Las Vegas Aces basket, because I'm really hoping that we get a WNBA team here in Denver.
Next year, I'm picking a team. I'm picking wherever Paige Beckers goes.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
The Valkyries colorways for San Francisco is sick.
It really is.
And if I go based on names and colors like I did when I was a little kid, then yeah, it might be them. But I don't think I can do that.
I don't know. I got to think about it. I like too many players on too many teams. I got to get it together and just pick a team. It is fun, though, watching with someone who is a diehard fan for one team, because it's like us in college. We have our college teams and we go nuts. And it's fun to be around people who have this connection to a team and really root for them.
And when you're really connected to a team, you know those little ins and outs, which I think is really important as well. I feel like we have general knowledge about a lot of things, but we don't have the specific niche knowledge that you have when you're a super fan.
And Saturday night, we got to celebrate our friends Sarah and Lex's engagement party, which was great.
And they're friends of the show, too.
Yes.
It was so nice. I'm so happy for them. I love them so much.
So nice to see them celebrate and see other people celebrate them, and just really excited for them. And it's just nice to be able to celebrate everyone's love. I really just love it.
It is. So shout out Lex and Sarah. Happy engagement. And then we woke up Sunday morning and I agreed to go for a trail run. Now that we're on Strava, Women's Sports Weekly is on Strava, we have to make sure that we're contributing to the Strava. So I got out my trail shoes and I went for a little run. And there's nothing that makes you happier than to have the whole family out on a Sunday morning running in the mountains.
It was great. Saturday night when I asked you, I was a little nervous because I was like, sometimes you say maybe or yes to things, and then the next day you're like, no, I'm not doing it. Sunday morning I woke up and I was like, are you still wanting to go?
And I didn't have the worst time. It was actually nice out, and I haven't been running with headphones the last 2 times I've gone on a run, so maybe that's a new routine I'm getting into, and it was not too bad, except someone on the trail did say that they saw rattlesnakes, and then I had a panic attack for a full 20 minutes.
Yeah, and we had Scout with us, so it is scary. You don't want your dog to get bit by a rattlesnake. We don't want to get bit by rattlesnakes. I've done that trail several times before. I've never seen one, but I was happy the girl told us. But it's kind of a lose-lose because you tell us and now we're on the lookout, but we were also nervous. But luckily, we all came out. No harm, no rattlesnakes. We didn't see any, at least.
No.
And it was a great way to start Sunday morning.
It was. And it's nice to be active on the weekends, even just a little bit, because when I just go hard on the weekends and then have to get back into my routine on Monday, it hits real real hard.
Yeah,
big
man.
slap in the face.
Being in our 30s is no joke, so it definitely was nice. And like you said, very happy Sunday morning to be running with you in Scout.
Oh my gosh. I wish I liked it more.
I feel like you found your inner Courtney DeWalter. You were out on the trails running. Whoa. You weren't that angry. I was like, there she is.
I wasn't that negative. I don't know what kind of has switched. I just felt better. I'm going to take it. I don't know if it'll stay for a long time, but I was like, I'm enjoying this somewhat, and I'm just going at my own pace, and that's that.
I'm going to take it too. And a few weeks ago, I tried to ask Carolyn if she would train for another marathon with me, because we both trained for New York City last year, and it was quite entertaining to say the least. And I said, Carolyn, it could be good content for the podcast.
It would be great
if
content.
You trained again, because you hate it so much.
I was, I'm just not a good person to train. I just don't like it. I wish I liked it more. I think running every once in a while for me, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks is the cadence that I like to do. I would like to run New York specifically again, because I feel like I could do better than I did in my first marathon. However, I need to figure out my stomach issues. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll take what I can get. Running together when we can is great. For now, that will be enough for me.
Well, we have a lot to talk about today, so let's get into the highlight reel.
Yes, let's do it. Starting with the WNBA.
Last Wednesday, A'ja Wilson beat the league's all-time single-season scoring record. She scored 956 points total, so not just in one game, but since her May season opener, they continue to play. This season is not over yet. This regular season's not over yet, and she became the first member of the WNBA single-season 1,000-point club to score 1,000 points in one season.
So you're telling me no one else has ever done that before?
I don't think so.
Wow, I'm impressed. I thought other people in the WNBA would have done that before, but to be the first to do it,
it's just craziness. And anyone who thinks she's not the MVP, I'm sorry. What are you doing? If you don't think she's the MVP outright, you're only watching Indiana Fever games. Let's be honest.
She has been playing great this year, so excited to see what's to come for her. Speaking of the Fever played Dallas Wings on Sunday afternoon, and they beat the Wings 110-109. With this win, they clinched the 6th seed in the playoffs, which we knew they made the playoffs already, but now we know they're going to be the 6th seed. Caitlin Clark broke yet another record. Not only did she score a career high of 35 points in the game, but she also broke the 18-year-old all-time rookie scoring record previously held by Simone Augustus.
And I guess I also need to say at this point, if you don't think Caitlin Clark is the rookie of the year, you're also wrong, right? And
yeah, absolutely. She is close to scoring 800 points on the year, and you just said Asia's the first one to score 1,000 points in a year. That is mind-boggling that Caitlin is not that far off from it. She's hitting a stride at the right time of the season. She has been going off. The announcer said it during the game. Her first game of her WNBA career, she had 10 turnovers. And now at this point, she's dropping 35 points. She does look kind of how she did in college. She's really found her groove in the WNBA, and she's only a rookie. It's really incredible.
Yeah, and the announcer said in the game on Sunday, the three-headed monster of Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston.
Oh my gosh. They've all been playing so well, and Kelsey Mitchell also went off during the game on Sunday and had 30 points herself.
Scary for the Indiana Fever to get hot right now.
I know.
The playoffs are going to be so fun. I cannot wait.
It's interesting because the only team they have not beaten this year is the Aces. And if I'm the Aces, that's nerve-wracking, because what do I tell you all the time? It's hard to beat a team over and over and over again. And the Aces have done that, but now can they continue to do that in playoffs? So it will be fun to watch for sure. And then we have the Mystics versus the Atlanta Dream, who are still fighting for a playoff spot.
The Mystics beat the Atlanta Dream last Friday, 72-69. The Mystics are on this run right now where they're really fighting for this last playoff spot, but they played again last Sunday, Mystics again versus Atlanta Dream, and the game goes into overtime. The Mystics came back after a big deficit. They go into overtime, and the Atlanta Dream win 76-73. They keep their playoff hopes alive. Tina Charles from the Atlanta Dream finished with 20 points and 10 rebounds. They have more games to play this week, starting today and on Thursday. We're going to see what happens. The Atlanta Dream play Chicago Sky in New York the Mystics play New York Liberty and Indiana Fever, and Chicago plays the Atlanta Dream and the Connecticut Sun. So these three teams are fighting for that last spot.
Fighting tooth and nail, honestly, because if the Atlanta Dream had lost on Sunday, they would have been out. And what do? They take the game into overtime and they say, we're not done yet, and they end up winning. That is not easy to do.
Every team wants to be in the playoffs, especially because you know you're not at the bottom, so your draft pick is not going to be at the top. So it's like, why not make a playoff run right now?
So still waiting to see who's going to take on that 8th spot in the playoffs. Keep your eyes out for that, and there's some good games ahead.
All right, let's get into a sport we have not talked about on Women's Sports Weekly yet. We are talking about golf.
Yes, and we have many people in our family who are obsessed with golf, so hopefully they're interested in this one.
We do. Have you played golf?
Yes, I've played with my dad several times.
Do you like it?
I do. It's one of those sports that's frustrating as hell because it's hard, but I do like it, and I feel like that is something I could get hooked on, but I have too many hobbies. I can't pick up golf right now.
So many hobbies are expensive. It's like, which expensive hobby am I going to pick up?
Do you like golf?
I've never played. I love to go to the driving range.
You crush the ball at the driving range.
Crush the ball as hard as I can. However, I have very limited patience. And when I was in grad school, I was working full time as a teacher's assistant, coaching softball, and then going to grad school at night. In the summer, I didn't have a job. And so a friend who I worked with got me a job as a caddy at a golf course in New Jersey. And I caddied for a summer. I was in the best shape of my life, but I was like, this game is very frustrating. It's also very frustrating to be a caddy because I would caddy with a bunch of men who would smoke weed before they played golf, and then they would just shank balls into the woods, and I would be searching for the balls in the woods, and I would be so mad. I also got hit with the ball a couple of times, which if you have ever played it with a caddy, it's not good if the caddy gets hit with a ball. That's the caddy's fault. And so I would pretend that I didn't get hit because they couldn't see all the way, but I would just have a welt on my leg and just have to act like everything was okay, and that's where the ball landed. It was quite a summer. To be really honest, it's not a sport that I know a ton about. It's not a sport that I watch a lot. I used to watch it with my brother growing up, and I would use it as a way to take a nap during the day.
Same. Whenever my dad had it on growing up, I literally would fall asleep.
I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum. Everybody has a sport that they like, and the people who play, I think, are super athletic. I'm not shitting on it by any means. It's just hard for me to get into.
Yeah, I think in person, like some sports, it's easier to get into when you're there live. It is a hard sport to watch on the TV, but maybe we should try again. Yeah. We're older now and wiser and maybe not so sleepy. I don't know.
And I think I need to go to a match because I want to scream, get in the hole when they hit the ball. Let's get into the 19th Solheim Cup, which was played this past weekend in Virginia. It was Team USA versus Team Europe. If you do follow golf and you've ever watched the Men's Ryder Cup, the Solheim Cup is the women's equivalent in the LPGA. The first 2 days consists of a foursome team. There's 2 players playing on the US versus 2 players playing on the European team, and they alternate shots back and forth. Player A on the US drives the ball. Player B on the US takes the next shot. Player A putts the ball if they're on
one
the green.
ball, and they're alternating throughout each hole.
Yep. And then they also play 4-ball, which means everyone is playing the entire hole, but they take the best score of your teammate. In golf, your best score is your lower score. If you and I were on the same team and we were playing together and you got the ball in 4 tries and I got the ball in 5 tries, we would just take your score for that hole. Yep. So they do that the first 2 days, and on the last day, they play 1v1 matches, just one player versus the other, see who wins. So even though in golf you're trying to get the lower score, the Solheim Cup, how they do this is whoever wins the match gets a point. So you want the most amount of points because that means you won the match.
Sure.
There were 12 people on each team, and there was a captain on each team. So the US was led by Stacey Lewis, and the European team was led by Susan Pedersen. The US really dominated through this tournament, which was really great. However, there were some transportation issues at the start of the tournament. They had a bunch of people who were scheduled to be there on Friday morning and see the first tee off, and the grandstands were empty. They were like pretty much empty because there weren't enough buses at the concert venue where people had to park to then get shuttled to the course, which like, how does that happen?
That had to be eerie for the players to be like, where is everyone?
And these people are paying to be there, and then they're paying money to park, and then you don't have enough buses to take them to the start. There was also reports that there were bathrooms there at the place where there was parking, but they were locked. So people were standing in line with no access to a bathroom. Just craziness. They got it figured out.
It's just not a good fan experience, and it already sets them off on a bad foot going in to watch.
Yes, but they get through it. Rest of the time was fine, and the U.S. dominates. Europe fell behind 6-2 on the first day and then trailed 10-6 heading into the final day, which was the singles, where they were going 1v1. Nelly Korda, who's been having an amazing season, who's currently ranked number 1 in women's world golf, played really, really well. She went 3-0 in team play and then lost her individual matchup, but she's been having an amazing season. Megan Kang also went 3-0 in team matches and won her individual match. And then Rose Zhang, who's 21 years old, she won 28 holes and lost 8. So she just had an amazing tournament. She was dominant. She only lost 8. The U.S. put up a really strong showing. Going into the individual matchups, though, it wasn't very clear that the U.S. was going to win, but they did when Lilia Vu, whose world ranking is number 2, scored a birdie on the 18th hole last Sunday, and the Americans defeated Europe 15.5 to 12.5 to claim their first Solheim Cup victory since 2017.
Wow. For those who are not that into golf, what is a birdie?
Ooh, a birdie is 1 under par. Is that right? I'm right. I knew that off the top of my head.
Good job.
You know what? I've played a lot of mini golf. I also used to play a golf video game when I was younger.
Oh, really?
And I would play with my brother, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I would get a lot of double bogeys. And so I know some of the scoring.
What's a bogey?
A bogey is 1 over par, and a double bogey is 2 over par.
Yep. Okay.
I think.
Our golf knowledge will get better as time goes on. We can only hope.
We will. I like this whole Solheim Cup. I love the idea of playing in teams. I think it makes it more fun for the players. They were having a great time. At one point, the U.S. caddies were ripping off their shirts because they were making bets on their own players of what they could do, and they were able to do it, and they're ripping off their shirts. They were having a good time. It has to be nice for the players. Golf is such an individual sport to get to play on a team and just have some fun.
Yeah, for sure. We talk about that individual sport all the time and how mental it could be, and to switch it up has to be really nice.
All right, we didn't do it last week, but we spoke about 2 weeks ago doing a blooper reel, and there were some funny things that happened this past week, so let's get into it.
Yes, the first one being, if you're on TikTok or any form of social media, you most likely have seen the trend of give me my money.
I like that you did it with the hand.
It's the Italian in me.
And this is a trend. I almost don't want to give it away because if this gets done to you and you don't know what's happening, I think it's so funny. But
I have to imagine most of our listeners know what the trend is.
We do have more Gen Z listeners now that we're on video.
So basically, there's a group of people who know what they're doing, and they all go up to the camera and say, just give me my money. And then there's one person in the group who does not know what's going to happen, and everyone that does know what's happening, after they say give me my money, everyone cheers like really loud, like yay.
But they can do it in different ways, and they'll still cheer.
Yeah, no matter what. Jackie Young, for example, on the Aces went up and just gave the hand signal. She didn't even say anything, and everyone went nuts. Cheered.
But there's one person who's not in on the joke.
So in this case, Becky Hammon, the coach of the Las Vegas Aces, did not know the joke.
And this was with all the Aces players.
She goes up last, and she had this really extravagant thing ready where she was talking about how the team just wanted their money. She was going on. It
was like full on Sopranos.
And then everyone was just silent, and she just looked at them and started giggling. And her reaction after everyone else was so great too.
Yes.
You got to see it, I guess, to see how funny it is. But it was a good one.
The idea is that when the person who's not in on the joke goes, everyone stays silent and just looks at them like they did it wrong, when there's really no wrong way to do it. And so she did it, but she went for it so hard that they couldn't even they couldn't contain themselves. They were just cracking up laughing. So it was really, really funny. Find it on Instagram, TikTok. The other blooper reel is the Orlando Pride played the KC Current this past week. They ended up drawing 0-0. But during the game, KC Current player kicks the ball so hard right into Marta's face on the Orlando Pride.
Worst.
I mean, drills it into her face. And Marta, being Marta, acts like nothing happened.
Of course.
And is like, come on, keep playing. And again, something you need to look up online. But do I feel bad for Marta? No. Do I feel bad for that ball? Yes. I think the ball had to retire after that hit. I think Marta is one of the scariest people in the NWSL in the best way.
Yes, one of the toughest, we should say.
Yes. Poor ball.
That's great. With that, let's get into the deep dive this week. And this one's recently near and dear to my heart because we're going to talk about the rise of flag football. And I have recently joined a flag football league. I've been wanting to for years. We had joined a co-ed league back in 2019 when we first moved here, and it was okay, but I was like, we didn't play again for years. And then this year I was like, I need to get back into it because I really want to play. There's a league in Denver called Empower, but with an H, get it? It's all women. And I was like, I need to join this league. I know I like playing with other women and it will probably be a great way to meet people and get back into it and play. Been playing for a few weeks now. And it's just been so cool to meet people who are interested in it, to see how good some of these players are. It is mind blowing.
Athletes. There are athletes out there.
And we are women in our late 20s, early 30s, just ballers out there. Yeah. Very impressive. So it's been really fun to get into it more. Growing up, really loved football, and I begged my parents when I was in middle school to play tackle football with the boys, and they would not let me. And to this day, I'm still angry about it. Now getting to play as an adult, it makes me really wish I had flag football as an option growing up and in high school. I played 3 sports in high school, and I really don't know which one I would have given up because I loved soccer, basketball, and softball. But I think if flag football were an option, I would have played it over, not basketball, but I think I would have played it over soccer or softball. That's how much I love it.
Are you playing flag football now because you know you have 4 years to the Olympics and you're trying to make a run?
I'm not going to embarrass myself because I'm not that good.
Yeah.
If I were a lot better, maybe. But no. But it will get me more excited for the Olympics because I'm learning all the rules now.
For sure.
And just getting more excited about it. So I think in 4 years when flag football is in the Olympics, it will just make me more excited to watch it.
And I like this rise of flag football because people aren't going to like this, but I think NFL football, I think college football is way too violent. And I'm just worried about people's brains.
Yeah.
That is it. We saw this past week in the NFL, the quarterback from the Miami Dolphins go down again with another concussion. And I feel like we're just watching these players die in front of us and we're not doing anything about it. And so I think flag football is a great option if you like that kind of play. And I think football is such a hard game to understand, even when you're playing, like the amount of plays and how you play defense and all those things that I think is really, really great and makes it fun. And I think full contact football is going to be a thing of the past when we see what we're doing to people's brains.
It is scary, but to that point, flag football is on the rise for both boys and girls, men and women, and it is nice to see the option for young girls and high school girls to play, because so many girls out there want to play and they don't have the option. I was actually talking to my dad this weekend. He went to my cousin's high school football game, and there's a girl on the team and she's the kicker, and I'm like, good for her, but the boys team is your only option. As I mentioned, across the board, girls and women, it's on the rise. Last year in 2023, about 500,000 girls between the ages of 6 and 17 played flag football just in the United States alone. This was a 63% increase from 2019, which is amazing, like over 50% increase. The NFL has actually played a big role in this, which I think is promising, and they've been promoting flag football, both boys and girls, men and women, through their NFL Flag League in the most recent years. And women make up 25% of nearly 700,000 players through that program. They have 1,800 leagues nationwide.
I wonder if the NFL is looking long term and is like, we need to start building this up because eventually these brain scans are going to come forward and we're not going to be able to play this sport anymore.
It will be interesting to see in coming years what that looks like. There's also been a ton of growth in the sport at the high school level, which I love. The number of girls playing on high school teams jumped 86% from 2019 to 2023. So across the board, it is growing. Out of the 50 states, there's only 11 states where flag football is a sanctioned varsity girls sport. But fun fact, the most recent state to have a sanctioned varsity flag football team is Colorado.
Love it.
We got to go check out some games. Jeffco Public Schools, Denver Public Schools, Cherry Creek School District,
which is all near the Denver
area, started to work with the Broncos in 2021 to begin this flag football pilot. In fall 2022 and fall 2023, that's when the pilot was going on in hopes that it would become a sanctioned sport. And it became a reality when the CHSAA, which is the Colorado High School Activities Association, voted 57-9 in agreement that flag football should become a sanctioned sport for girls in the 2024-2025 school year.
We love it.
Other states are also working on these pilot programs, so hopefully we'll see similar success across the board and more states will have sanctioned varsity sports for football. I personally hope our future kids have the option to play flag football.
Because they're not playing regular football. I've already said it.
You say it all the time, whether we have boys or girls, you will not let them play football because of what you mentioned with brains. And
I love football. I went to South Carolina. We were so good. South Carolina football Gamecocks were so good when I was there between 2009 to 2013. I love it. And brains.
Yes.
I'm just going to keep saying it.
Yes.
We can't do this.
So I hope they have an option to play flag football if they want to play, but I just hope they have that available to them.
Our kids are playing Dungeons and Dragons. I already told you this, and we're supporting them no matter what.
Athletes. We are raising athletes.
Oh my God, we have to go to so much therapy.
And with the high school growing, it's also cool to see that flag football is also growing at the collegiate level. Women's flag football scholarships are offered at 25 NAIA colleges, and 5 NCAA Division III colleges will follow suit in 2025.
NAIA is the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. It is the governing body for small college athletic programs in the U.S. So if you're not an NCAA program, you're probably an NAIA program.
I think it's interesting that the NAIA has started the flag football trend before NCAA, but we'll see how the NCAA Division III schools that are promoting this, we'll see the success they have, and who knows, in a few years it could be at the Division II and Division I level, which will be interesting. And then you have the pro football level. The American Flag Football League has plans to launch its inaugural men's and women's leagues in spring 2025. I do not know what cities these teams will be located at, but you know where I'm hoping there's a freaking team.
Denver has a huge flag football community. Yeah. We're learning that.
Yes.
They are everywhere.
We would love to see some pro teams. So more to come on that, hopefully in coming months, because spring 2025 is not that far off. But with that, Team USA does compete as part of the International Federation of American Football, and there's world competitions and world championships throughout the years, and the US have proven to be very good.
I would expect that.
Yeah.
Right? I would think most other countries are just starting to catch up on the football trend. The football that's
true.
Soccer football.
Yeah. Obviously, American football is huge in America, but not always across the board. But both the men and women do very well. In these competitions, the men and women usually play at the same venue, and they occur every 2 years in various host countries around the world. The inaugural championship was held back in 2002 in Austria, so it's been going on for over 20 years. In the most recent tournament, it took place in Finland in August 2024, so this past month, and the United States took gold in both men's and women's. The US has also won gold at the World Championships in 2018 and 2021. They are ranked number 1 worldwide worldwide, but Mexico is right behind us, ranked number 2, which is interesting. I'm sure we'll continue to see growth over the next couple of years. I feel like I've been seeing it more on social media, and I feel like once things start to hit social media more and more, especially that younger generation starts to see it and realize it's available to them, I can only imagine that's going to help promote it and expand the sport. And with it being an Olympic sport, I just feel like it's inevitable that flag football is going to continue to grow more and more.
These next 4 years, we'll see growth leading up to the Olympics, and then probably once the Olympics hits, we'll see even more growth after, as long as people are interested to watch it, which I think they will be.
Yeah, for sure. So really excited about that.
You'll catch Danielle 2028 in LA. Flag football.
LOL to that. In my dreams. Let's talk about what we're looking forward to this week outside of my flag football games. What do you got for us, Carolyn?
The NWSL season continues on. The KC Current, who are ranked number 3, play the Washington Spirit, who are ranked number 2. Trinity Rodman plays for the Washington Spirit. She had a crazy goal this past weekend.
That goal was dirty.
She had someone on her the entire time, and then she just flicked it past them and it went in. And then she went to bed and got rocked to sleep. It was a great celebration. But Washington Spirit plays KC Current on Friday, September 20th at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time on Prime. What are you looking forward to this week?
So we talked a lot about the WNBA and how we're still waiting to see who's going to take that 8th playoff spot. If you're listening at the time we released today, Tuesday, September 17th, Chicago Sky plays the Atlanta Dream at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on League Pass.
That's it for this week. We will see you next week on Women's Sports Weekly. In the meantime, watch women's sports, rate and subscribe to the pod on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Share the podcast with your friends and keep sending us topics you want us to cover on Instagram at Women's Sports Weekly Pod. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.